Welcome to the Knitfolk podcast. My name is Jaclyn. This is episode number 53. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as at Jaclyn Salem. I hope you guys have had a really great couple of weeks since the last time that I saw you. I have a friend in town right now and it's been really great. She comes like 2 or 3 times a year and we just kind of like basically do what I would do if I was here. So it's awesome having her here for that reason because I don't have to like entertain her or do anything that's like super touristy. So it's been fun. She got here earlier this week and we've just been having a great time so far. So that does mean I haven't been doing a ton of crafting this week as I would normally, but obviously it's fine. So let's get into the episode. I will start with what I'm wearing today, which is very easy Vogue V9251, and I showed this on the last podcast, but I'm actually wearing it this time. You can see it's like pinned right now. I still haven't added the snap closure to the front because it is quite a low V, but I love the dress. It's super flattering. I made the flutter sleeve option. I said fluted in the episode. I think I corrected it in the top corner though, but I did make the flutter sleeve option, which I discussed in the previous episode about some changes I would make to that, but all in all I still think it looks really great on and I love the fabric, and yeah, totally obsessed with this dress. Cannot wait to make at least 5 more in my wardrobe. I have like 3 different fabrics that I purchased the last time I was home in Tennessee to make another one, so could not recommend this more highly. The pattern is everything people say it is and more. So most of my content is knitting this week, so I will first start off with a finished object, and that is my new sock pattern, which is not yet released on Ravelry, but I'm hoping that it will be later this week, potentially Friday. So fingers crossed. Julie and I took some time on Friday afternoon, this previous Friday afternoon, to photograph the socks, and the pictures, they always turn out, whenever Julie and I work together, she just kind of like, we both kind of feed off of each other's creative energy, and every time that I have an idea for something, she just totally gets like the vision that I'm going for, but has better photography skills, and obviously I can't take the pictures while I'm wearing them myself, so she always manages to bring my creative vision to life. She does all of the photography for my patterns, and I'm so like grateful to her to have a friend who does this for me. But yes, this is, I've been calling them the library socks because previously I did not have a name picked out for them. And as of now I do, thanks to my mom who helped me kind of think through the way I like to name my patterns. I always want to do something that's New York specific because everything is, all of my patterns thus far have been inspired by New York City in some way. And just a little bit of background info about the socks, because I didn't really discuss this last time, but now that they are a finished object and are about to be released this week, I figured I would share some things with you. Let me take it off the blocker actually so you can see it centered. So the cable, it's like a climbing cable. There's two of them on either side of the front of the sock. These represent the two lions that are in front of the main branch of the New York Public Library on Fifth Avenue. And the names of the lions are Patience and Fortitude. So these cables represent patience and fortitude. And then right at the entrance to the main hall of the New York Public Library on Fifth Avenue, there's this kind of lattice motif on the ceiling, like right before you enter into the building. So that's kind of where this kind of lattice motif comes from. And then on the back, there are 5 knit ridges, and that represents Fifth Avenue because the library is on Fifth Avenue. So it's kind of like my art school background come to life in my, I don't want to say my adult life, I guess I was an adult then too in college, but kind of my art school background come to life in a knitting design pattern. And I'm so happy with how these turned out. These were definitely a labor of love. They took a long time to kind of figure out stitch patterns and what would look right together, and I'm super thrilled with how they turned out. And the photos look so good. So we were originally going to take them on Saturday, this previous Saturday, but it has been super rainy all weekend. Really for like a lot of the summer. It's always hovering on rain here for some reason lately. It's like Mother Nature forgot that rain was supposed to happen in spring. But hovering on rain here all the time. So it was going to rain on Saturday. So I asked her if she could come and take the pictures, come to the city. She works from home from her studio in Bayonne, New Jersey. And I asked her if she could come to the city on Friday instead after I got off work to take the pictures. She was available, so that's what we did. And the lighting was perfect because it wasn't super sunny, so it's kind of like the clouds were diffusing the light in the most magical way. Rainy light is my favorite, and it was perfect for the library socks pattern. So, oh, I didn't actually tell you the name. The name of the socks is the Astor socks, named after Astor Hall, which when you enter the library, the main library hall is called Astor Hall, named after, I should have actually had this prepared before I told you about it, but I want to say it was either like the main donor of the library or something to do with the architect of the library. I'll have this information together. My mom and I were just researching history of the New York Public Library, and that's what came up. So these are the Astor socks, A-S-T-O-R. So I love them, obviously, because they're my own design. And I think they fit right in with the other sock designs that I have, the Clark socks and the Irving socks. I don't know why I always come up with these, like, well, I guess because they're named after men, because most things in history usually are, unfortunately. But love this. Here's another close-up of it. The yarn, I've talked about it in previous episodes, but this is Julie's Yarn Sweet Sparrow yarns in the Blackberry Moose colorway. I feel like this pattern, because it's knit in the Blackberry Moose colorway, could come across as being feminine, but to me they are definitely a unisex pattern. Like if you knit this in a forest green or a navy color, or you know, whatever, I'm not so gender specific on colors or anything, but I know that a lot of people are. So I think that if you knit these for a guy, it would definitely work. Love them. So these are the Astor socks. My finished object for this episode, and they're going to hopefully be released this Friday. So really pumped about that. If you wanted to buy them and support my patterns, feel free to do so. Thank you so much in advance for anybody who buys my patterns. Seriously, like if you tag me in the pictures on Instagram every time, I'm super, super excited to see it. So these are the Aster socks. They are finished and will be hopefully a pattern available to purchase on Ravelry this Friday. So once I finished the Aster socks, it was time to continue on the socks that I have been knitting for my mom for Mother's Day. I had her try on the one when I went home just to make sure that it fit because my gauge had changed since the last time I gave her a pair of socks. And so I have now gotten quite far in the second sock. It's the Socks on a Plain colorway. Socks on a Plain pattern by Laura Lindman. And it's knit in hedgehog fibers in the Hurricane colorway. And somebody asked in the comments on the last episode, so I figured I would mention it again because I got sidetracked, as I sometimes do. The colorway bleeds. Several people have told me this. So when washing, make sure you kind of wash these on their own, I guess, if you're using the Hurricane colorway specifically. I've knit with other hedgehog fibers colorways before, and they didn't, but I've had at least 3 to 4 people tell me that this colorway does bleed. So if you're going to knit with the Hurricane colorway, make sure you wash it several times on its own before you throw it in with other clothing items. So yeah, I forgot how fast things knit up when they're not a design project. This is going by so quickly, cable and all, since I don't have to pay so close attention to make sure that everything is perfect in it like I would for a design. But I'm sorry, Mom, not that these aren't going to be perfect. I'm sure they will be, just not, maybe not like, whatever, you know what I'm saying. I just have to pay more attention to a design than I do for these. So these are socks for my mom. Super excited to almost have these done. I'm about ready to do the heel, which if you've been following along, you'll know from a previous episode that it's a half garter stitch and half stockinette heel, only because I got really tired of knitting this garter stitch heel for whatever reason. I thought it would be easier, but it was really kind of a pain in the neck, so I stopped doing it halfway through and did the stockinette. But I think it looks cool, and it's on the back of the heel, so it's not like she'll be like walking on that part of it. So she's tried this on and says it's comfortable anyway. So about to start the heel, and then I just have the fit to go. And again, that was Socks on a Plain, a pattern by Laura Lindman, knit in the hedgehog fibers, Hurricane colorway. Okay, updates on the cardigan that I cast on last episode. I basically only work on this when I'm at home because I'm taking a lot of notes on it as I go. It's just a very simple stockinette cardigan. It is raglan crew neck. No, I was about to say knit in the round, but no, it's not knit in the round. Love this so far. So it's just a simple raglan cardigan. Knit in Brooklyn tweed yarn in the, what's this colorway called? Wood Smoke. I'll show you that. This is the Wood Smoke colorway. It's their fingering weight yarn. It is a worsted spun yarn. No, woolen spun. I swear I know these things. And I'm starting off with the Wood Smoke colorway, but once I split for the sleeves, which is probably going to be happening fairly soon, I'm going to start striping the Long Johns colorway into it, which is this really gorgeous red color. So the red Long Johns colorway I'm planning on using for knitting to one side and then back, and then switching to the Wood Smoke colorway to do that for 4 rows. So this will be used for 2 rows, Wood Smoke will be used for 4 rows. So there'll be thin stripes of the red on the cardigan, and I'm planning on doing this fairly cropped. This is definitely going to be an awesome wardrobe staple. I will wear the hell out of this once it's done. Hoping this will be my Rhinebeck sweater if I can finish it in time. I just haven't had a ton of knitting mojo, but I guess as you can see from this, it's sort of starting to come back. It's just been too hot to knit, really. Unless I'm just like in air conditioning, which is pretty frequent. So, no pattern. I referenced a pattern by Joji Locatelli to figure out how many stitches to cast on, but other than that, I've just been going rogue on it. I did some short row shaping for the back so that it will fit in the back better. I've never knit a cardigan like this before, but I've heard from and watched from other podcasts that the short row shaping on the back helps it fit better. So that's what I did for this one. I love this color. It's going to go with everything. So that's the update on my Brooklyn tweed sweater. And then last knitting thing to show you, I have dug out a work in progress, a design work in progress actually. And right now it's a like ramen spaghetti mess because I ripped it out yet again because I just had another idea to change it and I just couldn't ignore it, so I had to do it. I ripped it out again. And it's so like kind of crinkly where I've re-knit it, but I'm sure that will ease out in blocking. So it is a wrap design and I'm knitting it in the O-Wool O-Wash worsted base in her oyster mushroom colorway. If you haven't checked out O-Wool yarns, especially if you live in the US, it is super affordable yarn, especially if you're looking for sweater quantities or larger projects, and every single color she dyes. Like, I'm not typically like a blue yarn or yellow yarn kind of person, but there's not a single color that she dyes, Jaclyn, that she dyes that I don't like. Every single shade of the color is really, really nice. So her colors are amazing. A huge range to choose from too. She has so many different bases, and I believe it's like an organic, certified organic yarn as well. So I really, really recommend this. Very affordable if you're looking for larger quantities of yarn. So again, this is the oyster mushroom colorway, and it is very crinkly right now because I just ripped out a ton of this yesterday to start over. Luckily I had a lifeline in, so I didn't have to do the entire thing, which I wised up to after ripping this out probably 3 times already, but you know, as is the process when designing. I love this edging. So pretty. Again, ignore how crinkly this looks. I promise it will look better once it's done. So I've dug this out of hibernation and I am loving the process again. Sometimes I just have to, I put it away because it was toward the end of the season, last season when I had started it, and I knew I wasn't going to have it finished in time for knitting it in any sort of like reasonable weather to actually wear it in. So I decided to hold off, and now I've picked it up again and have so many ideas for how I want to finish it. I charted out the entire thing over the past couple days, so hopefully that will help me avoid any mistakes or, you know, design debacles as I'm knitting it. Sometimes I just kind of go rogue and whatever happens, happens, but most of the time that does not end up working out well, so I decided to chart out the entire thing this time. And it's living in my Sweet Sparrow Yarns project bag that she made for me. This was a Christmas bag that she made 2 years ago, I believe. It's one of my favorite ones. I use it all the time. And some pins. So that's it for knitting. I have one sewing project to show you and then a couple other like little random things to talk about at the very end. So I started this project, I had it in progress on the last episode. This is my crisscross back inspired dress from something I saw on Instagram. I loved, it was like some pinafore dress, so I kind of used it as inspiration to draft my own dress. And oh, I just love this fabric so much. Love it. It's this amazing like blue-green twill, but it's really, really drapey. It's not like other twills I have used. It's a fabric that Grace, who is Wizard Dreams, again, because I talk about her probably every single episode, she's my neighbor and she gave me the remnants of this fabric. I believe she used it to make some flint pants. There's some culottes. They're super, super adorable. but I begged her for these remnants, and can you blame me? Look at this color, it's amazing. I love it. Anyway, so the inspiration for this dress I saw on Instagram and wanted to hack something similar-ish. So I looked through my pattern stash and found McCall's M6955. And I'm using view B and C. It's a circle cut skirt, but it's fitted at the waist, not this gathered one that's in these other options. And I decided to do the skirt in one color as opposed to the 2 fabric option that you can do here. I considered this for a second, using it still the same fabric but just having the seam detail right here, but I kind of have enough day dresses as is, and I felt like that kind of made it more of like a daytime playful dress and not something I could really wear at night as much. It made it more casual than I wanted it, I guess. I'm a pretty dressy person in general. So from there I hacked the hell out of the top. It's not like this at all. I squared out the neckline. I can show you in the illustration. They have a racer back option, and then just like, let's see, those are both racer back or just like a full back option. I use the racer back to determine where to chop from the bottom of the racer back, and then I've kind of constructed my own sleeves to then do a crisscross along the back. So the dress is mostly finished. Everything about it, the only thing it needs right now is to attach the sleeves and then add a hook and eye. Even the hem is done on the bottom. The only problem is that the bodice is like a little bit too big. It's like there's probably about 2.5 to 3 inches of positive ease in here. That might be overstating it a little bit, but I could definitely get rid of at least 1 inch out of the bodice and it would fit better. So I think I'm going to take that out of the side seams. It's just a hassle because I've also lined the bodice, so anything I do to the bodice I have to do to the lining as well. And like rookie mistake, I've already attached the bodice lining to the bodice itself, so it's just going to be kind of like a trial to do it unless I just take it in and leave the excess in there, which wouldn't look as couture. But the problem with the bodice being too big is that every time I try to pin out these crisscross back sleeves, which in itself is a challenge doing on my own anyway, maybe I'll get my friend Tracy who's visiting here to help me with that. Every time I try to do the pinning of it, it's like because there's too much excess fabric in the bodice, it's like creating creases in weird ways. I don't know. I'm hoping that if someone pins it out for me, that we'll be able to like adjust on the go accordingly and just kind of nudge here and there until it's in the perfect spot, and then maybe I won't have to take it in at all. We'll see. I just kind of need to play around with it. But other than that, it's a finished dress and it looks super cute on, like, it's wearable as it is without taking in the bodice. It's not like anything crazy in there. It's just, it would look better if I did. I lined it in this super soft cotton fabric, mostly because I didn't want to use more of this because I do have enough, I think, to get a skirt out of it, and I love this fabric so much I would definitely use it again in another project, even though I already have this dress in it. But yeah, loving how it's turned out. It's very flattering on the full skirt for someone who has bigger hips like myself. Works really well for my body shape, which is more pear-like. So again, that's McCall's M6955 that I'm using kind of as the base, but the top is really nothing like that pattern. Just kind of done it on my own. I love how this I'm very proud of how this neckline turned out. It's a square neckline and it just sits so flat, and yeah, love that. It's kind of cool to use all of these different skills from that I've learned from other patterns in order to make this dress. So that's been really very rewarding. All right, that's it for the making stuff. There's just a couple things I wanted to show you, not necessarily recommendations, but definitely one thing I wanted to talk about really quick, and that is button stashes. So my mom recently gave me this button box that was my mama's. My mama taught me how to sew, and my mom doesn't sew, but she's kind of been holding on to it for sentimental value just because she played with all the buttons in it when she was a kid, and this button box even existed before she was even born. And she gave it to me with the promise I had to make was that the buttons stayed in this tin, which I am going to, obviously. It's a special, like, kind of heirloom thing, but I will say it doesn't make it easy to find any of the buttons in here, so I'm trying to see if I can find some sort of, maybe from the Container Store, some little inset that I can put in it to at least sort them by color or something, because that way I can find buttons when I need it for a project. Anyway, I posted about this button box on Instagram, and so many of you, I didn't really realize how much of a thing like heirloom button stashes were, because I've had so many comments on the post that you guys have left about your own button stashes and ones that you've inherited from your people in your family, and so I just thought that was really cool. So if you're looking for an uplifting post, go find the picture I posted on Instagram. Again, it's at Jaclyn Salem, with the button box, this button box, and read the comments, because so many people talk about their button stash. And I started a hashtag called Share Your Button Stash, so if you want to take a picture of yours and share it, I will definitely be checking that hashtag to see other people's. And there's everyone has these really beautiful button boxes. A lot of them are like cookie tins or tea tins or just things like that. I guess because our grandparents kind of grew up in the Great Depression era, so they, at least from a lot of the stories that you guys have told me, nothing went to waste. So if for some reason an item of clothing wore out, they would cut the buttons off of the shirts or whatever and then throw them in the tin to be used for some future project, which I just think is really neat. So this is my button stash now that I've inherited. I had my own, a little one that I started myself before I moved into this apartment, and I can't find it. It's like lost in the move, and it's kind of ridiculous how much I like tore through this apartment searching for this little mini button stash. It was just like a little plastic Tupperware container that had a bunch of buttons in it, but when you need a button, you need a button. And it's kind of ridiculous how sad I felt about losing this little button stash. So they do have some sort of odd sentimental value to them though, don't they? And mine has this little, I don't know, it's like a man leading a camel right here in this silver tin. So I'm really excited about that. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is kind of a recommendation. So a couple people on Instagram have posted about this book. It's a graphic novel, and I'm not normally the graphic novel type. I've read about 5 to 10 in my life. I don't like superhero type of comics, but I do like graphic novels. And this one is called Sabrina by Nick, not a clue how to pronounce that, D-R-N-A-S-O is the last name. And I saw a couple of people on Instagram reading this, I think mostly because it's been nominated for the Man Booker Prize for Fiction. And it's the first graphic novel that has been nominated for a fiction prize for the Man Booker Prize. So I thought that was really cool. So I stopped by first at Strand, they were out of it. And then I went to Barnes & Noble and they had one copy left. And the illustrations are just really unique. They're very simple. I'm not super far, I guess I'm about 40%. Yeah, about 40% of the way through it. I don't want to give away too much about the plot, but I will say it kind of addresses themes of how news circulates and blows way out of control in the age of technology. Is like a main theme that I'm discovering so far. I don't know too much more about it other than that, except for like kind of what the story is about, but I don't want to give away too much. So this is something I would recommend just because if it's the first graphic novel that's been nominated for a fiction prize for the Man Booker Prize, and I've read many other books that won the Man Booker Prize and have loved every single one that I've read so far, I would definitely say this is probably worth your time, especially if you like graphic novels. So again, that's Sabrina by Nick Duranzo. Yes, would recommend that. All right, that's it for me today. A shorter episode than last time. I had so much to show you in the previous episode that I knew I was just like, there's no way I was getting through it all. So I'm trying to stay on top of it and record episodes more regularly. So that's what I'm doing right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a really great couple of weeks, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!